a little after 10. I was hoping to get started at 10, of course, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's what I shoot for. But, things come up. So I had a lot of things I had to work on this morning to get going today. And yeah, I mean, at least, I'm sober. That's the best part about it. And it wasn't exactly stressful. These times can be hard sometimes for us, but in sobriety, it's so much easier. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Josh, living life alcohol free. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for subscribing and following. Um, Today, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of being open, having someone that we can communicate with, just to drink. Um, just the importance of and vulnerable in sobriety, in recovery, and just how much we need community. Uh, I found an online group that was really for me. I felt like I was accumulating tools over the years, especially the last 3 years of my drinking. Uh, Tools that I didn't even know that I was accumulating, but that were there, and I was aware of them when I decided I really wanted to quit drinking. And that was really the biggest thing, was that I wanted to be done drinking. I knew I wanted it. I knew I wanted to be sober. I knew that a sober way was better, because I had days where I felt better when I wasn't drinking, but there weren't many days during the week that I was not drinking, or at least not hungover. And but I knew that those days that I wasn't drinking, that I was either recovering or that I just wanted to take a day off from drinking, that I felt better. So that was a tool. I mean, I had that tool all along, but it was when I decided to quit drinking, and I decided that I was done with it. I knew that I needed to be open with uh, some people. I mean, I knew that I needed to talk about the triggers I was having to drink, the why I was having the triggers, why I was having the stress and the urges to drink. Stress is really a reason why most people drink, or do drugs, or use whatever to escape that feeling. Stress sucks. It's not fun, but it's not anything that's going to ever go away. But it can get easier through sobriety. So I had someone in my group bring up yesterday that he didn't have anyone in particular to go to in his home when he was having these urges to drink. And to that, I had to say that we got your back. I mean, first and foremost, that's what I started this channel for. That's what I started my Facebook group for. If you haven't been on there, I pinned all my videos have a pin to my a link to my sobriety group on Facebook. It's a private group, but that's the reason why I started that group, was because a lot of us don't want to talk about our drinking. A lot of us drank in secrecy. A lot of us uh, didn't really want people to know the exact depth of our drinking, either because of pride or embarrassment or shame or all of the above. And welcome, Round, and welcome, One Punch. Good to see you guys here. Um, and so we don't want people to know the extent of our drinking. So when we decide we are done, we're alone if we're doing that. And if we find a group, that's awesome, because that's half the battle, is having people that are like-minded, that understand what it's like to go through life addicted to alcohol, or on the fence about their drinking. I spent a long time on the fence about my drinking, but at the end of the day, drinking always won out. um it was just I had this battle, this constant like battle between my faith, prayer, and alcohol. And alcohol won out on pretty much most days. I'd say 90% of my week, alcohol won out. So I was either drinking, thinking about drinking, or hungover from drinking. And it just takes up so much time and space, not to mention costs a lot of money. But um, it really leads to just more stress, because we might say and do things that we regret. We might forget things. And then we have the hangover. We got to deal with that. We might have to go to work, and it's just a drag. And so I was in that perpetual state for over 20 years before I really started to think, I can't keep living like this, man. It's tearing me up. So I'm married. I have a great wife. We've been together for 15 years, and married for 12 of those. And I started to be open with her about my real concerns about how much I was drinking back in like 2016. And that was really the first time I told anybody the God honest truth about exactly how much I was drinking. I didn't want to tell the doctor. I mean, I confided in my doctor a couple times over the years, but I didn't give the exact amount. I gave because I was drinking a lot. So, I mean, I was drinking deadly amounts of alcohol. And I think that's the problem with a lot of us is that, and I think a lot of society too. I mean, most people I don't think are honest about how much they really do drink. They just say socially on the form in the doctor's office, and then they move on from that. So they kind of talk about their alcohol use like it's not really a big deal with most people. Um, or we just hide it completely. And if I mean, I would drink openly at my house, or out in public or whatever. But I mean, I tried to kind of hide it. I mean, there were times when I'd go out on the deck and crack the beer, or go in the garage and crack it, because at least if my family was listening to me opening those beers, at least they might not hear every beer crack. They might hear half of them, and that's a problem. And then I would kind of try to get the returnables back before anybody saw just how many bags there were. And that's hiding it. That's not being open, and that's not being honest with myself. And it leads to shame. It makes you feel like you're living a life that you're like hiding stuff. So I opened up to her in 2016, and I told her flat out how much I was drinking, that I didn't want to drink like that anymore. Try to kind of monitor that, and I would keep my phone as to how much I was drinking each day. And even I would give it up for a week, but I'd end up going back to it after a week, and I would be drinking just as much, if not more, than I was before. And I think that psychologically there's something to that. Like if we're talking about how we feel and we're open, uh, it can be embarrassing or stressful, or we feel like we're being judged. So we hold that back. We hold that in, and then we drink more to quiet that feeling. And so I knew, when I quit drinking finally in 2020, that one of the things that I was going to have to do was talk to my wife. As funny as that sounds, uh, I mean, talk to her about why I was having the urge. in that particular urge to drink, because it's worth individual urge that's important. It's not, we can't wait a week. Must have lost you there for a second. Um, that's kind of spotty here, I guess. But at any rate, maybe it has something to do with the wildfire smoke. We got the smoke going over here in Michigan today from Canada, so maybe that's messing up the internet connection. But at any rate, uh, opening up. So we have to talk about each urge and not try to let it like build up over several days or a week to get to a point where we have to like unleash everything, because that's really not, um, it's not going to help us in each moment and each day. So I knew early on. I mean, I was lucky enough to find a sober group like in the first 2 days that I quit drinking this time for good. Uh, and I'll let you know the book and the committee if you want to know. But it really was huge, and I got on there, and I was getting on there because I didn't want to drink as much. I wanted to kind of cut down or be a normal drinker, like have one or two and be done, or even have like three or four. I mean, and be done drinking. Just not crave 10 or more beers or alcohol, like drinks of alcohol, um, in a sitting. I didn't want that anymore. So I got on that group. The the book was kind of how to control alcohol, but I started to realize that the people that were on there were sober for days, weeks, months, years in some cases, and I started to realize that these people seemed a lot more um, satisfied, a lot more down to earth, a lot more able to deal with life and just roll with life. And so I started to kind of question: do I just want to be a regular drinker, or do I just want to try not drinking at all and see how that goes? So after giving it a day or two of thought, I just was like, I'm already on day 3 or 4. Why don't I just continue not drinking and see how it goes? So that's what I did. And I made it to like day 8 or 9, and I had a therapy visit, and I talked to my therapist, and all the things that I talked about were things that were building up over years, and just my relationships, my struggle with alcohol, my anger, my irritability, excuse me, and all of it. And it makes you want to drink. And I told him I was going to go home and I was going to drink. And he said, and I'm not going to condone it, but if you're going to go home and drink, think about how you feel after you have one, again after two, again after three, and just sit with how you're feeling, and really question whether you like that feeling anymore or not, or how you're feeling. So I got home and I did not drink. I just decided I didn't want to, um, instead of washing away all the good things in my life, because that's really what drinking does. It does help wash away the problems for a short time, but it also washes away the good things that we have in our life at the same time. And that's really where the problem lies. So, um, so I knew that I was going to need to talk to my wife the next time I had an urge to drink. So I would get on my group, I would post how I was feeling, why I was having the urge. It typically revolved around a guilty feeling that I was having about how I reacted to my one or two of my daughters and my wife on the last night that I drank. And it was really the guilt and the shame of how I acted during my drinking days. And not so much all the years combined, but like just that last binge in particular, but just that last like 6 weeks. of my drinking where it was out of control. I couldn't stop it. I was drinking earlier and earlier in the day, more and more, and then I was mixing. And so all that stuff just made me feel like I was out of control, and I didn't have control of anything in my life for the most part. So when I'd have an urge to drink in that first week or two, it was like it revolved around that, and I would just have to post about my how I was feeling, why I was feeling it, and sometimes I didn't know. I mean, sometimes you know when something's bothering you, but then there's other times when there's underlying things that are festering and eating away at you, and you have to like look within, think about it, give it some weight, and sometimes the only way to get all that out is to talk about it. And I'm talking about with someone who is with you every day or that you see often. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone like a spouse or a partner. It doesn't have to be someone that you live with, but just someone who you can call on the phone and talk to. Aside from the group that you go to or attend online, um, because if you have a group, that's great, but like there's nothing like that interaction with one-on-one uh, as well. Like I would say for me, like an online community was great, but I also did need my wife. I needed a therapist for at least the first 6 months, and I did need medication. A lot of these things, um, they were all there. They were always there. They were there all along. I just didn't take advantage of them the way that I needed to get and stay sober. So it was kind of like I kind of just sensed that early on this time that, you know what, I need people. I drank in isolation. Excuse me. I dealt with things in isolation. Most of it's because of pride, but some of it was just because I just yeah, I didn't wasn't good at being vulnerable. I for most of my life I was a single guy. I was by myself. I didn't have like someone that I confided in regularly. Um, I had family and friends and stuff, but like that nothing that was like really like day to day. Nothing that was like that I felt like I could. No one that I felt like I trusted enough to open up to that wasn't going to either judge me or give me bad advice, because that's really the key. I mean, we don't always need advice. We just need someone to listen, and bouncing those feelings off those people kind of help us, like I said, sometimes figure out what is really eating away at us, because sometimes we don't know. Like in particular, this one group member is having a huge car issue, and car issues can be stressful for a lot of us, especially if we count on our cars to work and back and get us to places that we need to go. And add on top of that that we don't have a ton of money to fix this big problem. It's stressful in and of itself. But is it that one thing that's really the biggest stressor, or are there other things that we're using alcohol to cope with? Are we Because when we start to turn to alcohol, we're just creating more problems for ourselves. uh, Instead of being able to talk to somebody, we go drink. So my advice to anyone who's looking to get sober and stay sober is to look around and figure out who it is that you can trust in your day-to-day life, that you can talk to either face to face or on the phone. And when you have an urge, a really strong urge to drink, I'm talking, reach out to that person. Also reach out to your group, but both. And then after a while, you start to, you have someone is listening. You have your group. They're commenting. They care. They get it. They're the ones that get the addiction. Uh, the person that we're talking to on the phone or in person may not understand what you're going through exactly. Like my wife, she understands addiction from a standpoint of like her biological father was addicted to drugs and alcohol. She is a nurse, so she works at a hospital. She's in healthcare, and she understands the concept of addiction. But she herself has not struggled with drugs or alcohol, so like she can't completely understand what it's like. But the people on your group, your therapist, maybe even like my therapist knew he was actually an addict himself, but he was specialized in addiction recovery. Those it's those people that you need to kind of count on too for the word of encouragement and say, hey, especially the ones that have longer sober times, um, that have gone through more of these urges, gotten through more of these urges, and then gotten to the other side, and then started to grow um, in other aspects of their lives. Like I didn't getting over those urges was really the first thing that I had to think about. It was hanging on for dear life, getting through each day without drinking, coping with life without alcohol, talking about how we feel, being vulnerable. Those are all things that I had to deal with for like the first 3 months, I would say. It was like all summer. I quit on April 27th of 2020. It was during the pandemic. And it was right before summer started. And it was actually pretty cool that I had the opportunity to kind of sit out on my feel like I was recovering from this long term illness. It was warm out. I could feel the breeze, and I would just have water or iced coffee or sparkling water, or I didn't have any like non alcoholic drinks yet. I didn't really feel like that was going to help me in my cravings to drink. I wasn't sure about it. I didn't really had any stuff in my life. If I tried it, it was a long taste exactly like beer or. But anyway, I knew I didn't want to try it yet. But after I recovered in the first like 3 months and got through those urges, and I was stronger for each urge every time I made it through there. I was proud of myself for getting through that. And I don't want to glorify pride, but I mean it does help to feel proud of yourself sometimes for accomplishing small things and give yourself credit, give yourself a pat on the back instead of what it was like all those years drinking where we just beat ourselves up day after day after day. And in some cases, I felt like I deserved what I was getting. So, and that's a whole other deep dive um, that I went into in therapy, and that kind of came up in this weeks, maybe even months after I started therapy. That I said, I feel like I deserve what the bad things that I'm getting. And then he's like, "What do you mean? Why do you say that?" Well, I mean, I'm the one making the choice to drink. I'm the one making the choice to say these rotten things to people I care about. I'm the one who's choosing all these things, and it's my fault. And then, I'm getting punished for it. It's all coming back to me, and I deserve it. But the reality of it is that that's not true. Uh, I wasn't really growing in my faith yet at the beginning of my sobriety, but as time went on and I got into my faith more, like in year 2 and 3 and beyond, I started to realize that, man, God God gives us grace, so why don't we give ourselves grace um, more often? We should. And then even on that topic, if our friends are struggling, if say a friend is having a hard time, and they open up to us, we're not going to beat them up over it. We're going to be kind to them. We're going to say the words of affirmation they need. We're going to be encouraging to them. So when we're struggling, why don't we do that for ourselves? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think part of it is maybe it's just a survival. It's something that's built within us to have that negative voice to keep us safe, to keep us away from trouble. But at the same time, we can't really have a great life if we're constantly berating ourselves, beating ourselves up, and especially feeling like, I deserve the punishment. I deserve what I get. The reality is, we can't go back in time. We can only live for this moment. We can really only control what happens right now. And if we can replace that drinking and those ruminations and those bad thoughts with things that bring us joy, healthy things, each time we turn to those things in our day, they accumulate those good vibes, those good feelings, those things that make us feel good, and they accumulate day by day. And eventually, you're living the life that you wanted to live all along, and that's really the goal here. So that's really all I wanted to get out today. If you stuck with me, thank you so much for staying here. I appreciate it. Um, um, it's my pleasure to make this content, have this channel. I started it because I wanted to spread the good news of sobriety, faith. Um, I wanted to I wanted to glorify God. I wanted to do something good for God's kingdom. God has been there for me my entire life. I still went my own way for most of my life. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to make my choices. I paid the price, but at the same time, I knew that when I was ready, he would be there, and he was, and with open arms, and gave me the grace that I needed to, gave me the consciousness to, know who's in my life that I can count on, kind of not count on those people that are critical, that judge and stuff like that. Kind of make boundaries with those people, um, and just do things that are for God, and that's really, that's what brings me the most joy in making this content. And I've kind of um, veered away from making like religious or faith based content, but it's still there. Uh, it's a foundation for me. My faith is my foundation, and I wouldn't have been able to do what like I said, I wouldn't be able to even do. I wouldn't be able to even be here and do this. So um, I couldn't even talk in front of people or on a camera or anything before, and that's one of the reasons why I felt like the biggest tool is in recovery is to just be able to be open about it with people, and go from there and see what happens. So uh, check out some of my other videos. I've got my Facebook group, Sobriety in the Storm, pinned in all my videos. You can click on there and join that group. It's a private group. I do these live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I come out with new content every Wednesday and Sunday, and yeah, I'm on here pretty much. I'm checking in pretty much all day within the hour, um, and then we'll go from there. So I'm glad that you're here. Please like and subscribe. and support the channel, come along with this journey, I'd be forever grateful. So have a great sober day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.